All right, guys, thank you very much. Good afternoon. And once again, thank you very much for joining us on the Young Africa page. That's Young Africa Works page on Facebook and Instagram. Today happens to be a great day as we're going to have a conversation on the orange economy across Africa. I'm super excited to welcome all of you. And I'm not going to do this alone. I'm going to have a great team from across Africa as we have conversations on what it is with the orange economy in Africa. Now, for those of you who are wondering what this is all about, I'd love to tell you what the Young Africa Connect is about. It is a monthly series hosted by the MasterCard Foundation through the Young Africa Works Facebook page and Instagram. Now, this virtual show aims to inspire, engage, and uplift young people while amplifying their incredible works across the continent. And for those of you who know, a lot of creatives and people in the orange economy around Africa are rising to the top and doing amazing things. So that's why we are here today. Now, this month, we spotlight the orange economy as a powerful engine for youth employment, innovation, and cultural expression. So much to talk about today, but I wouldn't do this all by myself. I have a powerful team from across Africa. Like I said, I have Naomi here, I have Boris, I have Uwaneza, I have Anesu and Juliet, all from different parts of Africa. Now, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves to us as we have this conversation. Once again, welcome to the show. But please remember that if you have any question, if you have any contribution, please feel free to drop them on the comment section so that we get to read them here on the show as well. So let me start off with Anesu. You care to tell us about yourself and what you do?
Thank you. So my name is Anissa Chugumba, and I am a Zimbabwean brand strategist and entrepreneur development specialist, and also founder of Unpublished Africa, a social impact organization that is creating entry-level opportunities for creatives across the continent. And we essentially are also publishing the African narrative and collaborating with them in that way.
Amazing. That's excellent. Well, let me move on to the next Naomi. As I see on the screen, Naomi, you want to tell us about yourself and what you do as well?
Yes, thank you, Ebenezer. Hello, everyone. My name is Naomi Nyakinywa. I am from Kenya. I run an organization called Kwani with a Q. We identify, nurture, and help to commercialize creative talent in Kenya, in the continent, and soon in the world. We are keen on a couple of creative sectors, literature, poetry, filmmaking, photography, art, dance, music, and on a general community level, hiking and cycling. It's an incredible honor to be here. I know this is not relevant, but it will be. I'm also a training pharmacist, and yeah, it's quite a journey, but I'm grateful. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much for joining us, Naomi. Let me get to Uwaneza. I hope I got the name right.
Uwineza. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Ebenezer. My name is Sivetlana Uwineza. I am from Rwanda. I am a brand strategist. I'm also a creative and entrepreneur, and I'm also the founder of Zvet Jewelry. Zvet Jewelry is a jewelry brand that blends art and storytelling. And what it means basically is our designs are a mixture or a fusion of meaning, symbolism, and stories. And I'm also involved in creative sectors. I am the representative of Imhundu Arts in Ghana, which is a platform that promotes women artists everywhere in Africa, everywhere. So yeah, that's me.
Well, I'm pretty sure there is more to say, but for now, we'll hold on to that. But thank you very much for
Yes.
sharing that with us. Let me get to Juliet. Hi, Juliet. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. Juliet, talk to us. Tell us more about yourself.
I'm Juliet Namju. I'm a fashion designer, an environmentalist, disability activist, Westpreneur. I'm the founder of Chimuli Collection, a fashion brand that transforms plastic polythene into durable, sustainable, waterproof garments and accessories while creating employment opportunities for people with disabilities and the youth in Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Glad to have you as well. Now, let me get to, we always say ladies first. So I did that with all the women. Let me get to the only guy in the room apart from myself. That's Pen Boy Boris. Welcome. How are
Yeah,
you?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. I'm just realizing I'm the only man on the panel.
I hope you are not disappointed that I actually had to introduce you last.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Let the
Yeah.
ladies have their flowers. All right. So my name is Boris Alemge, but people commonly call me Pen Boy. That's my stage name. I pride myself firstly in being a human being. That's something I'm very happy about because I feel like, in recent times, we have everything. The world has everything except humanity. And so every time I want to introduce myself, I start by saying, I pride myself in being a human being. Yeah, so apart from that, I'm happy to be sharing my gifts with the world. I am a poet and a spoken word artist. This is what I was born with. It's a talent that I was born with, and it's something I've been able to develop over time. And I've always been extremely passionate about leadership, politics and leadership. And it got to a point where I realized that, yes, this talent that I have, which is poetry and spoken words, performance art, I can use it as a tool to influence political decisions, to influence leadership around the world. And so for the past 6 to 7 years, I've been using these particular gifts of mine to be able to advocate for vulnerable and marginalized groups of persons, firstly in Cameroon, Africa, and the world. And I've been doing this through, audiovisual content, through concerts and through tours. Apart from that, a few years ago, I co-founded an organization here in Cameroon called Stage Life. Stage Life is an organization that scouts and trains spoken word artists or people who are generally interested in oral literature here in Cameroon. Currently, the organization has been down, but we are currently working on reviving it. Yeah, so that's a little bow or a little thing I can say about me.
Well, so that's the very little for spoken word artists. I'm sure if we allow him, he will take the whole day, but that's fine. All right, so to our beautiful people who are watching us live on Facebook on the Young Africa Works page, thank you very much. And I'd like to say thank you to our very brother, that is Gideon, who's also working on the sign language so that our brothers and sisters can also understand this conversation. And let me say congratulations or big ups to Young Africa for actually thinking about our brothers and sisters who might not be able to hear us for one reason or the other, providing this platform as well. Now, let's get into our conversation. The orange economy, we've heard people who talk about orange economy, but why do you think the orange economy, that's the arts, culture, creativity, is actually essential to Africa's future? Let me start with Anesu. I don't know if you want to share something with us.
Yes. Well, when looking at the orange economy and I suppose the creative economy as well, it's very important for us to start considering the economic addition that creatives are contributing to their, I suppose, societies, their countries, and the kind of skills that are needed as well. And I mean, when we think about the orange economy and the creative economy, we tend to think of it as something abstract, but this is something that we're all interacting with on a daily basis. If you have read a book, if you've listened to a song, if you've watched a movie, if you've even looked at a billboard today, you have interacted with and engaged with something that a creative contributed to and made. And this is why we need to start considering creatives and start finding ways to upskill them and also ensure that they are actually compensated well enough for them to continue and carry on their work.
Amazing. Let me get to Naomi. Naomi has anything to share with us on that as well. Why is it important that we pay attention to this?
Yes, I do. The orange economy is not just a creative outlet, but it's a growth engine for us as Africans. There's a lot that is packed within the creative sector and within the creative minds. And as we've just heard, everything we interact with on a daily basis is someone's creation. The chair you're sitting on, the spectacles we're wearing, every single thing has a knack of creation to it. And we need to see that creatives are important in youth innovation. We have a lot of unemployment going on, but the youth innovation that is potentially possible and present within the creative space is incredible. And I'm just very, very, I highly believe that our youth innovation is the power and engine that Africa needs to keep going on. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you for the contribution. Let me get to you. I'm trying so much to get the name right. That's Uwineza. I hope I don't murder it again. You find yourself in this space as well. I mean, we do understand the impact that the orange economy can have on the African continent and beyond. But are there challenges that we need to be looking out for in the creative journey? Obviously, we wouldn't have it as easy as possible. Most of the times when it comes to the creatives, people feel those who do not do well in school are the ones who are supposed to get into that. Those who decide not to have anything. If you're a creative person, people don't want to pay for your work because they feel, oh, it's just an imagination. It's something that you just said to us. Why do we need to pay you for all that? What have been some of the challenges in your creative journey you care to share with us?
Oh, thank you. For me, I would say it was the first one that I had, and I think you mentioned it. It was people trusting or even understanding what I'm doing, and it wasn't an issue of communication or poor communication. It's just that people think that everything creative, everything artistic, it's your hobby. So they don't understand necessarily how you're turning a hobby to a business. So I would say for that in general, as Africans, we need again to be educated on our traditions, on our cultures, everything, because the minute we see the value in who we are, which is our traditional culture, we are going to see the value to what the creatives are doing. So if I see value, I'll buy. So the sales will, how do you call it? The brands will get more strong, and also there will be more sales because now we understand the value behind the creation. And another thing is also the creatives, they don't really have confidence or know how to sell themselves. So I think we need spaces where we train them, especially when it comes to how to market yourself, how to communicate your story. We need to train them. We need the spaces where we train them according to how they think, how they view things. So that's how I would say it.
Amazing. Let me get to Pimboy. I mean, Pimboy, for instance, considering Africa, where we find ourselves and the challenges, how some African leaders, would want to come for people who speak against them and all that. You are using your intellect, you are using poetry, spoken word as a tool to actually communicate and influence and change lives. How challenging is it for you?
I think I'll agree with what the last speaker said. One of the biggest challenge is, first of all, the fact that people consider art to be a hobby or a passion. It became, I used to think so as well. But then when I later realized that this is a whole vocation, it became more challenging. I live in a crisis. In fact, I find myself in a crisis situation. Like right now, it's ghost towns outside. Like vehicles are not moving. Stores are closed. I live in the English part of Cameroon, and if you're versed with Cameroon history, we've been in crisis since 2016 with the English part of Cameroon wanting to secede from the French part of Cameroon. And since then, I've been one of those English Cameroonian artists using my art to be very vocal about things that has to do with the crisis. There's been a lot of human rights violations, arbitrary arrests, murder, kidnappings, and all of those things. And I've been using my art to speak directly to the stakeholders. Now, this has been very dangerous because, first of all, my family has been extremely scared for my life. My mom calls sometimes asking, "Are you okay?" When my mom sees me publish something online, probably a new piece of work or a new performance, because most of the times the performance I do, they always end up trending here in Cameroon. So the messages are always so powerful that people get scared. I receive calls. "Are you okay? Will you be safe? Do you need this? Have you ever been attacked?" So I've been having a lot of these questions. So people fear for my life more than I even fear for my own life. So it has caused a strenuous relationship between my family and myself. And secondly, honestly, I wake up some days too scared. We live in a place where a few days ago there's a journalist whose family were abducted by state officers. Like, they just disappeared, and we've been writing petitions asking that family to be released. It could be me. I wake up every day knowing that it could be me. And so these are some of the challenges that we face here. And secondly, sponsorship. Most organizations don't want to involve with artists who are involved in or who are using their arts to speak against political issues. People are scared to affiliate with people like that, with those kind of artists or with organizations who do those kind of things. So it has been difficult getting sponsorship or getting stakeholder recommendations and all of those things. And equally, events. Sometimes we want to organize festivals, and we have state agents who ban us from doing events, who ban us from doing our concerts and shows and all of those things. Sometimes we even get our social media pages censored. I have a mentor whose social media page was censored some few months ago by the state because they're using their platforms to speak up against things happening in these regions. So those are some of the challenges that we face here. But then I'm still alive. So it shows that everything is still moving on fine.
Interesting. And I'm pretty sure a number of us can actually connect with what you are saying. Like, I mean, I didn't introduce myself. I'm a radio presenter, and I also run PR for a number of creatives across Africa as well. And there have been moments when I say something on radio, because I'm on radio from Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. every Monday to Friday. So we speak about a lot of things. And sometimes my dad will call me and said, "Hey Ben, are you sure you're okay? Some of these things, don't touch on them because it has to do with people in power and all that." So I understand and I can really relate to what you are saying. But I mean, beyond that, we are still here trying to make an impact. Now, aside these challenges, yes, of course, we are still doing our best. Let me get to Juliet. Juliet, how can creative work drive not just cultural expression, but also employment of young people and social change? Because I know you are impacting people in your space, they are getting people work and all that. How can creative work not just cultural expression, but also employment for young people across Africa?
Thank you so much. I love working with young people, fellow young people like me, but especially people with disabilities, because they're the most uncared people in the whole world, by the way. They are the most discriminated people. They're the most people are always left out, both young and adult. In the creative space, these people they also have opportunities, they also have rights to be cared for in the creative space. I remember way back when I just lost my father at the age of 5. I remember that. So my father, when his legs became amputated, could not have all those opportunities. The creative space could not care about him because he was amputated, his legs were amputated. People thought he could not do anything in his life. Imagine, I do work with people who are handicapped, people who cannot hear and talk, the deaf. I do work with the dwarf people, but these are the people who need these opportunities, who need the creative space to do something for themselves. Imagine recently we're being given an opportunity to make around 500 bags for a certain conference, Women in Climate. And this organization gave us an opportunity to not only make for them the bags, but also to give a space for people with disabilities to showcase our products on a stage, and also to talk about their work, the impact that we have created in the environment and to the community, how we have impacted these people, how we have impacted the marginalized different groups of people in Uganda. So our women were being given a space, to express their work, to express their confidence that they can do it, not only people with disabilities, but also the marginalized youth, the women out there that are always underlooked. And this really gave us more thoughts on how we can engage our women, our young people, that they can make it. Opportunities are always there in the space, but how do they obtain them? How can they better their lives? Yeah, that is all what I can talk about.
Interesting. That's quite some insight for us, Julia. Thank you very much. We'll get into the individual works that we all do and some of the challenges or how you guys are actually making impact in your various countries, and not just in your countries, but across Africa. Now, this is a general question to everyone. In your estimation, like what skills are most critical for young creatives today as we succeed, for them to be able to succeed and sustain themselves? Because we realize that a lot of people are basically getting into the internet and doing what they can best with the internet. But what skills do they really require to be able to succeed in today's world? This might be brief. Let me start off from Naomi.
I believe young creatives and just generally anyone need to embrace the aspect of community, collaboration as a skill. No one can, I mean, we can work in silos. We create alone. We bring to life our ideas and the originality and authenticity of all we have to the world, individually, independently, but we need to work as a community. Case in point, Kwani. I began Kwani with 5 other friends of mine, and we started out as writers. We believed that we write good work, and we wanted the world to see this work. This is 2 years ago. But the only and the farthest place our work could be seen was in our contact spaces where we publish our work. If I publish my work on my WhatsApp page or on my Instagram page, the people who know me are the only people who can see it. So we decided to create a community where we're publishing anthologies on an annual basis. And for these anthologies, we'd have maybe 32 different stories from around 60 different stories from around 30 writers. And once we put that work on a book and we share it out to the world, it reaches many, many people in different, cross borders and in different places in the world. And that led to the growth of a community of writers, which now fed into the growth of the other creative sectors. I believe we need collaboration because that one friend will critique your work and help to improve what you're doing. That one friend is the next network opportunity, the next million opportunity, the next skill set opportunity for you as a creative. So I strongly vouch for community because I have seen what it has done. Kwani has over 10,000 young members, and I have seen what it has done in terms of impact and growth for people in their different crafts. Yes.
Amazing. So, of course, we need to make sure that we are collaborating and not competing. That's been the thing for a lot of us across Africa. We always see that as competition instead of coming back together to collaborate so that we can spread our wings across the rest of the world. That's good. Now, let me find out what support systems do you think need to be put in place? I mean, aside the skill that we need of actually collaborating, what support systems must be in place so that we can actually have young people thrive in Africa's creative sector? I don't know who want to speak to this at the moment, but maybe I can see Anish who wants to speak.
Yes, and I suppose just also chime on what Naomi was saying, because interestingly, we collaborated with Kwani last
And
month
published our thing. Yes.
on a
beautiful.
photo walk in Nairobi and on a
Yes.
panel together. And in terms of the support that is needed, of course, within the community spaces that artists themselves are creating, a lot of these are artist-led spaces. Like Naomi was saying, they have a community where they were 5 founders, right? We do then support each other as creators, but we need more support from, a city level, a country level, infrastructure, there being opportunities. So when we look at opportunities, while, it's very broad, the orange economy is very broad. I mean, advertising comes into play. We have visual storytellers, poets, writers, and it's all very broad. But we find that there are a lot of opportunities that are on and available for your more established artists versus people that are actually starting up their creative careers, which then brings in the work that we're doing with Unpublished, where we create those entry-level opportunities because that's a gap that we found to say, what can be an entry point into the creative industry that the person's trying to get into. You don't just, kind of rise up as an amazing songwriter or a musician. You need those spaces and those places where you can actually step in, learn more, and grow your career accordingly. And these might look different from, I suppose, subsector to subsector, but those are the ways in which creatives are able to actually build their portfolios, right? Versus looking at people that might step into corporate and follow a traditional path. A lot of creatives, a big percentage of creatives are part of what we are calling the gig economy. And within the gig economy, we are looking for project-based work. We're looking for, gigs, essentially, your project-based work, based work. You aren't in a full-time employment set up where you can actually gauge to say, okay, so I've been working for this company for 5 years and I came in at intern level, then I stepped in and became a contract worker. And now I'm in management and senior management. Within the creative economy, you build up very differently. So we need support structures that can facilitate for that kind of work, and even looking at the creatives within their careers to say, okay, how easy is it to open a bank account without a payslip in a lot of countries, right? And a lot of creatives might not have access to that. But when you get a gig with a corporate, you need to show that you have a bank account that they can actually send money to, right? So we need skilling in terms of capacity building. We need things that we can lean on to say, okay, you're going to need a bank account, you're going to need tax clearances. How do you go about this as an individual who might not necessarily be part of a corporate or established company? Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much. I see, I want to mention the first name now because I've not been well with the second name, but that might be more disastrous. So let me go with you, Ebenezer. You want to add something to that?
Yes, I wanted to add something on the skills on what Naomi said, but I like what Anesu also said. Basically, like I mentioned, I am also a brand strategist. So with, let's say, my clients and mostly the creative, I have noticed as well that whenever we think of turning what they are calling our hobby to the business, we don't know, we tend to immediately go try to do like anyone. So we forget to ask ourselves, why am I doing this? What is the essence of what I'm doing? So I think the first thing as well we need to learn and teach the creative is that self-confidence to say like what you're bringing to the market matters. Don't try to copy. It is that essence that will make you different from the others. Stay true to yourself and try to find a community like Naomi was saying, a community that will understand you and support you. Because there will be days where you ask yourself, like any other business, you ask yourself, what am I doing? What am I doing, the right thing? But when you believe in yourself, when you believe in what you are bringing, and you add those skills, like Anesu was saying, you add the finance literacy, you add the management, because you have to have an idea of what you're doing. You cannot just go like this. You have to know, to have at least the basic of how to run a business, like how to open the account and everything. So I think that understanding who you are and knowing and believing in what you're doing is one of the most skills that we also need as creatives.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us. And so I'd like to say thank you to the very people who are watching us on Facebook and on Instagram. That's on the Young Africa Works page. Thank you very much. Let's not forget that this is the Young Africa Connect. That's a monthly series that comes your way, kind as courtesy, the Mastercard Foundation, and we are grateful for the assistance. Now, let's get into the very individual things we do, and I'd like to start off with Juliet. Juliet is into fashion, and so we want to look at inclusive fashion and innovation. Now,
do fashion just like other fashion designers do, but I'm always opting to do something that is more impactful, both onto the environment and to the community with the people that I live in. I always look out to something that really adds value to our environment and to the community. Being the fact that when you come to Kampala, especially in the downtown, not just Kampala, but even in rural areas, plastic waste is It's a huge problem. Plastic waste is being polluted everywhere, into the environment, into the community, into the lakes, everywhere. It's not just being polluted, but it's also being burnt. Imagine the air that comes out when it's being burnt. It affects our health. Right now, we are having flu and cough. Imagine adding on burning this plastic waste. So as Chimoli Collections, we are collecting that plastic waste and making it, using it or making something useful out of it that is really impacting our people. Not just making, but wearing what people see as waste that they are burning. And not only that, we are really creating jobs for our communities, especially to women, starting from the marginalized youth that collect waste from different communities, from different landfills. They're being impacted in terms of earning money from Chimoli Collections and bettering their lives. Going to the rural women who don't have jobs, but rather they can clean up the environment and also sort out this waste and earn income, sustain their families. We go to the disabled persons who, tailor the waste into wearable, fashionable garments. They are bettering their lives in terms of, creating their jobs for themselves and training people who are like them, people who cannot hear and talk. We have a lady in our community. She's called Rose Nakwangu. This lady, she cannot hear and talk. We started with this lady 5 years back. And as I'm talking right now, this lady has been impacted. She has a very big workshop in Mpigi, Uganda, and she's impacting 10 fellow women who cannot hear and talk. Just imagine these women there, she's training them on how to make products from plastic waste. She has given them jobs, they're bettering their lives. And her vision is to have a big workshop such that she can better her fellow women who are deaf. So this is something very big. This woman is on our team, and even when you check on our medias, you can see her. So this is the impact that we are looking. This is not just making fashion and people wearing, but wearing impact. How many people have you impacted? The more people you impact, the more we can better our nation and Africa at large. Yeah, thank you.
That's quite insightful, and I'm excited to hear all these things. I mean, I was going to ask you how that's going to create jobs, but obviously you've spoken about it, and the story of a woman who's now have to even employ other people and looking at bigger things. That's quite a great thing there. Thank you very much for the impact you are making in your community, and I'm pretty sure there are others out there who listen to this and also want to make a move and say, no, I have a disability, so I just need to stay back and make others do the work. I hope this inspires others. Let me get to our very own Boris, aka Penboy. You are using literature and as in literature as poetry. Somebody has sent in a question which I'll put to you later. But how can poetry and storytelling challenge societal norms and bring attention to youth issues?
All right. Yeah. Someone said there's a writer, I've forgotten his name. He said we cannot, we cannot stop their fingers from pulling triggers. We cannot diffuse bombs. We cannot go into cells and remove innocent persons. But we can name the perpetrators. We can call their names. We can describe them. And basically, this is what literature does. And this is what I believe I've been doing through my work for over the years. Africa, oral literature is an integral part of African societies. Before all the technological advancement, we used to communicate through stories a lot. We've heard stories of our parents gathering around campfires or under trees and telling stories. This is how history was passed across. This is how we've learned to remember our heroes. This is how we learned to remember our history, the wars, the wins, and all of those things. And I believe that literature or oral literature still has that impact till date. It's through oral literature that we'll be able to remember this history today. And just looking at the work, like not just talking about myself, not just talking from my point of view, I've listened to the work of most spoken word artists around Africa, or people who are generally engaged, artists who are generally engaged in oral literature. And most of them are always very particular about talking or specifically about social issues and political issues happening within their context, be it a crisis context, be it societal issues, you know, like gender inequality and all of those things. Spoken word has that power. It is that one art that has been able, despite all the advancements in the world, despite all the changes, oral literature has been that art form that has succeeded to stay authentic, despite, you know, all the changes around the world. With music, people sing today for just entertainment. You know, like there are songs that you listen to today, they have basically no impact. There are movies that you watch purely for entertainment's sake, but then it's going to be difficult to find a spoken word piece that doesn't tackle a particular social issue. So I feel like this is one art that has been able to withstand the test of time. It has been able to stay original. It has been able to stay authentic to what art originally should look like. So yes, so we'll go back to that quote. We cannot diffuse their bombs. We cannot, you know, break into cells and take out prisoners. We cannot stop their fingers from pulling triggers, but then we can describe our perpetrators. We can call their names. Yeah, so basically that's what literature does.
That's such a powerful quotation, and first time hearing it, but it makes a lot of sense. And I'll be searching on who actually said that. Maybe I'll be using it very often. And we have a comment from an ex-user who says, a thriving orange economy needs policy support, intellectual property rights, digital infrastructure, youth access to markets. It says, let's build that ecosystem, and has the hashtag Young Africa Connect. Now, to my second question, and this is also a question coming in from Irene Wambu. It says, poetry as a profession is often dismissed. How did you turn spoken word into a career? And what would you advise young creatives starting out?
Yeah, that's true. I'm always, this is a question that I've heard times and again. Firstly, when I decided to become an artist, I did not do it because I thought it's going to become a profession or a career, or I thought it was something that was going to fit me. Poetry for me was just a tool to express myself. But then the more I got spiritual, the more I got to learn about God, there are things and realities that I started discovering. For example, when God sends us on earth, he doesn't send us with a check or a bag of money to say, okay, go into the world and this is your capital, go and start a business with it. What he gives us are gifts, talents. And everybody is talented. People always think talents, for example, has to do with arts, music, dancing, you know, acting, writing, all of those things. But someone who is a good cook is a talented person. Someone who is a really good cleaner is a talented person. So God sends us on earth with talents. And, you know, it dawned on me that my own talent that God gave me was writing and speaking. Those are the two things I'm passionate about. So when I found myself struggling in school, struggling to fit in, you know, we know the general norm, you know, go to school, graduate, get a job and stuff. I realized that life was difficult for me. I was struggling. And by the way, I come from a broken home, and I've never really been able to take care of myself financially. I could not even afford, you know, a decent education for myself. And I started asking myself, but why am I struggling? Why am I struggling to become a lawyer? I didn't know. Why am I struggling to become a lawyer? Why am I struggling to fit in? Because in Cameroon, after you have your law degree, you have to travel to Nigeria to go to a law school. I did not see myself going to Nigeria or Sierra Leone. We cannot afford it in our family. But I asked myself, but why am I struggling? What am I doing with these gifts that God has given me? So when the Anglophone crisis started in 2016, I realized that I was very enthusiastic about writing things that have to do with the crisis, you know, decrying the human rights violations, all of those things. So first of all, poetry and writing came to me, first of all, as a tool for expression. It was something that gave me a sense of fulfillment. And I compared both lives, the life I had in school and the life that I have while, you know, pursuing my arts career. Arts career, I find it extremely fulfilling. It makes me happy, it gives me peace. And I did this thing for about 3 years. Obviously, it was extremely difficult, but I was extremely consistent, leveraging on social media, leveraging from, learning from mentors. And it became something that I did passionately. And there is something about passion. It might take 1 year for some people, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years. But the honest truth is that if you keep doing something repeatedly, one day it's going to obviously make way for you. And as a young person, it became very difficult because I had to sacrifice a lot of things. I had to know that, yes, I might not be able to buy a car by 25. I might not be able to build a house by this age, because all of those things are things that come as a consequence of hard work. So instead of, focusing on acquiring those things, I focus on pouring my soul into what gave me fulfillment. And that's how it became a whole vocation for me. The first time I was paid for a gig, I was shocked. I did not know that people get paid for performances. And then so it came to me as a consequence. So just be consistent, just be passionate, do what gives you fulfillment. And, that's how it works for me.
Amazing. So it always starts with the passion. And I think that's what it is with a lot of creatives. It always starts with the passion, then eventually turns into something. And then she wants to add up a bit to it quite briefly so that we move on to the other part.
Okay, so I would, I suppose, like to just echo what Pinboy was saying surrounding just repeatedly doing something. There are laws surrounding consistency and I suppose compounded effort as well. But with that, another kind of thing to consider is we all tend to have a core skill, which I suppose Pinboy was saying surrounding the passion, the talent, the thing that you would be interested in which case, in this case, which would be poetry, right? And you have that core skill. And I suppose when we all go to different schooling or, you put time and effort into something, you're developing that by the amount of time that you are investing into it, putting into it, practicing your writing. But in addition to that, you then need to find ways to build around your core skill. You can be an amazing poet, but if you are not visible, then people are not going to buy from you. You can be an amazing poet, but if you aren't building an audience, then, you might not be able to actually monetize that poetry. You might not be able to gain more things from it for you to be able to sustain it, right? So in addition to actually building your core skill and putting time and effort into your writing, putting time and effort into you practicing your spoken word, if that's something that you want to venture into, also find ways of producing that, to say, okay, maybe I write a poem, I develop it into spoken word. What are the different ways that people are monetizing the work, and find ways to actually start learning those things. Then also think about how you can start to learn skills that will help you turn that poetry into a business. Because at the end of the day, even if you are just freelancing, you are a service provider to someone else. If you are exchanging your creativity with hopes of getting something, with hopes of getting money, right? Exchanging your creativity for finance, you are in business. You're a service provider. Learn how to offer your services to the world and actually build around that core skill that you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anesu, for that input right there. Well, I'll get to Uweneza. Since the first name didn't help, I'll get into the second one. I'll stick to that and keep it rolling like that. I mean, why did you actually decide to include storytelling in your communication?
Well, for me, I've always been fascinated about storytelling. A little bit of my background, I used to organize spoken word events. I do theater, I danced, and also marketing. So basically, when I started creating, when I was going to create events, I asked myself, like, what do I love? What do I like? And I love everything that allows me to express myself. And that is how I came up with let's say the context to say that it's a fusion of art and storytelling. Why? Because it all starts with stories. Like, for example, right now, the collection that we have currently, it is inspired by the pillars of Ubuntu philosophy. So we bring the African philosophy. So then from the pillars, how can we show the message through jewelry, through art? So that is why there's also symbolism. We use a lot of symbolism. And then there's how are we going to communicate our stories? So storytelling, sometimes we use poetry, sometimes we use videos. Like I said, for me, I call VET a creative hub. So really depending on the message we are trying to send out, if I can say that, that will bring value to our jury. We use different medium, including, how can I say, poetry, dancing sometimes as well. It all depends. So that's how storytelling is involved, because it allows people to connect to our stories. It allows people to understand, like you can easily buy jewelry, but when you understand, oh, you associate yourself like, oh, this jewelry reminds me of my journey or self-becoming, then it's no longer jewelry. It's another thing. It's very something private and personal. So you are more connected to the story and more connected to the product. So that's how we involved storytelling in our
Amazing.
whole
So that's a way of
experience.
making people actually feel connected to whatever
Yes,
it is
yes,
they might be buying from you.
yes.
Now,
I like to say that we turn stories into tangible art. That's how I can say it.
that's
Yes.
quite a summary of it. But what does it mean to you to build a creative career rooted in African tradition while appealing to modern audiences? Because today, because of the internet, people have taste for so many things, but you are
Yes.
rooted in the African cultural traditional stuff. How does it appeal to the modern audiences? How do you do that?
Really, it's just about staying true to your essence again, to your roots, and then learn how to communicate on different platforms. It's learning how to communicate in our now language, if I can say, because traditions stay the same, the culture stay the same. We don't change. We are just the new people or new vehicles that we are, that life or God is using to communicate it. So the essence of it is to stay true to my message and then understand which platform am I using. Oh, is this one? How am I communicating on this platform then? I would say that that's how I use the platform and communication.
That's beautiful. Now, still talking about storytelling, let me get to Naomi. Naomi, you are using storytelling for social change. Let's look at you. The question is, why is youth-led storytelling important in shaping narratives around African identity and opportunity?
Okay. Thank you once more. Youth-led storytelling is important one because the youth of Africa make a huge amount of the population we have going on. And so I believe that narratives are very, very powerful and they can be told through various mediums. So we have the bubble storytelling, we have film through play. In Kwani, we have different film writers and script writers where we perform plays and tell a story. Could be of grief, could be of love, could be of mental health. We have photography. We have, and this we worked with Anesu on our collaboration with Unpublished, whereby we do photo walks in the city of Nairobi and maybe decide to do one street and just capture the history of that particular street on our photo or on our cameras. And describe it to the various audience that have come for the photo tour. And I believe that there's a very, very incredible sense of perception that comes behind the lens of a photographer. I could take a photo of you, Anesu could take a photo of you, but those are two different stories to those photos, right? We have literature and writing. So this also capture the different aspects of things that the youth are going through in our generation. And I'd say storytelling is impactful in the fact that it preserves the culture that is going on currently, the past culture, and even the culture of the future. Yeah, it's incredible to have stories. It's incredible to have story banks. 2 weeks ago, I was listening to George Ndirango, and he was telling us the power of having a story to your work, having a story to your pitch. Humans love stories. Humans connect to stories that we get to have a sense of belonging. Case in point, if we do a movie, watch a Western movie and watch an African movie. In the Western movies, the common cause of friction is the husband has refused to take the trash out. I don't know if you've seen that in the Western movies. That's a source of friction. Who's taking trash, who's taking garbage out? But when you come to Africa, the source of friction in many of our movies is family drama. Like family drama is a constant. You thought you've seen it all, then you just get born into an African home.
Yeah, about
And
your
you
man,
know,
no,
sorry. And you find drama is a constant for us. So we are able to connect in our stories as Africans because there's one language that goes on in our stories in as much as we have many mediums to share and channel on what is going on. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I mean, and I think one of the ways we can, like Penboy said, we can actually pass on, our stories to generations. The generation is through storytelling. We'll be able to tell it right. Then those who come after us, even though now, yes, we prefer to put some of them into writing, pictures and oral literature will still not leave us. It will still be here with us. So maybe we just need to make sure we keep on doing that. Quite briefly on the same thing, how do you think it's going to help or impact with education? I mean, storytelling, how important is that for us in carrying on education in Africa?
Okay. I believe it's a transformative tool for change. And just even to go back to what education has looked like currently in Africa, when we were starting out, we said that creatives are seen as people who just do creations for hobbies. It's not taken up seriously. There's no platform for sustainable careers when it comes to the creative sector. And when you look at, I don't know if your primary schools or secondary schools were like some that I went to, but we used to have a timetable and there were maths, sciences, literature, then PE, that's physical education, and we also had creative arts in the timetable. But you would find that maybe the maths teacher or history teacher would take up that class because they don't see it as an important lesson. So there were more important lessons, and that's why we come out here and creatives don't have a sense of foundation or a sense of stability in their work, and you feel like you should not produce. I am a training pharmacist because I wanted to do literature, I wanted to write, but in whose house, where will you earn the bread? And I aggressively remember applying to Amherst College because there literature is a more important career. In Kenya, it's not, So I believe that storytelling is impactful when it comes to education, when it comes to advocacy, because it's a transformative medium. It allows people to connect, people to understand each other, and there's so much power. We say we work with who we love, we study with who we love. You do life with who you trust, and that comes from a sense of belonging. And that's, for me, that's how there's going to be like storytelling just creates great impact in the advocacy and education sector. As Kenya, we've been having protests in the past month or two. We call them Maandamano. And it's incredible to see how the digital content creators have captured the story of Maandamano in 2-minute, 3-minute clips. And you can just watch those 3 minutes and feel the intensity of what's going on in the country for a whole year, a whole 2 years. And that's a source of information and education to the general world, because you get to see it's our story, and as Africans, we're telling our stories to the world. It's not the world telling a story about Africans. Yeah, so that's it for me.
Wow. Naomi, thank you very much for this insight and for this input. We've got just a couple of minutes to go, but I can't do this without reading some of the messages that are coming in across social media. So on Facebook, Jackson K says the conversation has started and is stirring hearts across the continent. Young Africa networks bring networks together. Passionate creatives redefining how Africa creatives expresses and innovates. Now, this one is a question. It says, it's coming from Elkana Mbaka. It says, how can policymakers better support the orange economy and create enabling environments for young creatives to thrive? Wanjiku Kimani says, what are some of the biggest challenges you face in building creative enterprises, and how did you overcome them? I'm pretty sure these are some of the questions we've answered. Simpet Rahim says, how can young creatives in Africa turn their artistic passions into sustainable businesses within the orange economy? And I'm sure we've spoken about that as well. Chira Maggie says, is investing in the orange economy a more effective strategy for economic growth and youth empowerment than traditional industrial sectors? That's a question. Irene again says, is creativity the most underutilized economic engine in Africa? What would happen if we treated it as an infrastructure? And I'm pretty sure, just like Naomi said, there are lectures where, you know, they'll treat mathematics and the sciences as the most important and wouldn't attend to the other classes because they feel, you know, it doesn't really matter. But these are some of the comments coming through. Elkan Ambaka says, this is such a powerful reminder that Africa's future isn't just in resources, but in ideas, stories, and originality. Loving this session. So these are some comments that have come through from Facebook, Instagram, and X, and we appreciate all the comments that are coming through. We are just about to take leave, but some of the questions that have come through, some of the contributions, I don't know what you may want to add to it. And before we go, I mean, I don't want our people to leave us yet because Penboy has something amazing for us. This he's done just for Young Africa Connects, and this is exclusive to us. So briefly, Anesu, with all this conversation, what happens is that most of the time people think, okay, yes, they've had all the conversations, they have all the ideas. What next, in summary?
Well, what is next is that I suppose us as creatives need to start thinking about the kind of skills that can help us monetize our work and actually actively seek out programs like one that we have at Unpublished School Creative Business Studio, and we take creatives through different areas of business. But ours is not the only one. So seek out programs that will teach you how to monetize your work. And in addition to that, also learn how to engage people that are not in the creative industry, because it's very easy for us to just learn how to relate with each other, learn how to collaborate with each other, but not learn how to engage people that are working at I suppose, at a high level in order to translate what we are talking about even today into policy, into papers, into data that's workable with. So we need to take the extra step to just go beyond our day-to-day and go beyond the creating aspect for the betterment of our economy, which is the orange economy. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Let me get to Naomi. Naomi, your final words and what's next?
Mine is to the young creatives and all creatives generally. Let's own our voices. Let's own our art and talent. We are, as Kwani, we're working tirelessly to bring and give a sustainable platform for creatives to get, you know, sustainable careers, to be able to understand your skill, develop it, have good IP systems in place, and just have solid systems and structures running for creatives. So keep creating and don't stop, because what you show is how the world gets to know you, and you're as tall as the people who know you. So keep going, don't stop. And to the donors, to the policymakers, to the government, creatives are important. We're not just here for exposure. We are a very important bit of the ecosystem, you know. You need to write a book. We need an editor. We need a formatting person. We need a proofreader. We need an illustrator. We need a cover design person. Those are already 6 jobs in just one book, and that spreads to all the creative sectors. So let's be keen on taking up opportunities to empower and enhance the creative activities that we have in Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Keep writing. So I'm finding out from you, Juliet. What will be your final word for us this morning?
Yeah, thank you so much. My final word to the people outside there, especially to the young people and to the creatives, let them not give up. There is a time I wanted to give up on what I'm doing, onto the impact that I've created and to the people who look up to me. But I looked at back where I came from. I looked at my community. I looked at what I went through. And my background always motivates me to really work hard, to believe in myself, to always have that in mind that I can. So whenever you have a story behind, you have something that always pushes you, you'll never give up in life. You'll never give up on what you want. I'm not where I want to be right now, but I'm somewhere and I know where I'm going. So have that self-confidence that you can, and always innovate more, think more. A designer, of which we designers, we are not always looking at that one thing. You know, the world keeps on changing, the world keeps on innovating more, you know, new trends come up. So we need to innovate more, we need to create more, we need to think more, we need to really, you know, think outside the box, think beyond. So when you do all those things, I know you will thrive. My vision as Chimoli Collections, we are envisioning at becoming the most recognized inclusive eco-fashion label in Africa, not just Uganda, but in Africa. So we need to think more, we need to innovate more, we need to work harder, you know, we need to really push harder so that we can make it. It's the same applies to the young people outside there, to other fellow innovators, entrepreneurs, change makers, and everyone. Thank you for this great opportunity.
Thank you very much, Juliet. We are proud of you and what you are doing as well. I'll get to you when Neza before I get to Penboy, because Penboy will wrap everything up for us in a spoken word, made just for us. So let me get to you, Neza. Final words.
Yes, for me, it will be mostly just one that I will add to the creative: lose control and be flexible. For you to allow even what Naomi was saying, the community to come in, you have to be ready also to accept the feedback. You have to be also ready that even though it's your art, sometimes this person can come and say, "Oh, add this, will bring something big." That is how even the help will come in if you accept that, yes, this is my art, but it can get better when other people also are in. Be flexible, lose the control. You cannot get far if you are controlling. Lose the control, breathe, and continue.
Okay, all right, that's fine. There's at times you need to ease up. Just make sure that you can breathe. Let me get to Penboy, who will wrap up for us. Penboy, your final words for us, and then we have it.
Okay, I write and create firstly because I don't want to feel miserable, and hoping that when someone sees this work out there, they too will feel less miserable. My biggest challenge with the orange economy is that in an attempt for artists to monetize, be sustainable, most of them tend to lose the authenticity and originality of their work. That's the only problem I have with the orange economy. But then at the end of the day, artists are the shoulders of the world. Like they are those people that the world turn to when it's darkest most. So artists have a bigger assignment. Like our assignment is even more bigger than entrepreneurship. So find what you do and let it kill you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Penboy, for doing this. You will wrap up for us with your spoken word. I'm sure you're ready with that. But let me say thank you to our people out there who joined this conversation. Let's not forget, like to say thank you very much to the Mastercount Foundation for working this through the Young Africa Connects. And this was live on the Young Africa Works pages on Facebook, Instagram, and then on Twitter, now known as X. We are grateful for all the comments and all the contributions, and something new will be coming up in the course of the month as well. So look forward to all that. Penboy, you want to wrap up for us with the specially curated content for Young Africa Connects?
All right, I'm going to be performing something that is going to just make us reflect as we leave from here.
Okay.
The day you die, people will cry. Women will tear their clothes and lift up their covers. Men will grieve and drown themselves in liters of wine. Strangers will joam and scream in disbelief. There will be laments from coast to coast. The day you die, Candles will burn and goats will lose their necks in your name. Distant relatives will fly from overseas just to watch your remains being lowered into the earth's crust. Sadness and darkness will cloud the hearts of those who love you truly. But all this won't stop the clocks from ticking, or rivers from flowing, or the moon and the sun and the stars from glowing, or kids from playing, or lovers from loving. Everything will move on just fine, like you were never here in the first place. People will post sad pictures of you on their Facebook stories. Caption it, "Rest in peace." And their next slides will be memes and fun and jokes. The world will miss you, but the world will move on fast. Munya Market will still be open on Sundays. Douala will still be suffocating with traffic. New dance steps will still be trending on TikTok. And maybe, just maybe, Tinubu will still be president. Death is a constant reminder that we live in vain. That there is probably no light at the end of the tunnel, just soil, sand, and gravel, and we spend our lifetimes here chasing shadows and shadows and shadows. Death is a constant reminder that we live in vain, and what we call purpose or destinies are just pieces of nylon blown to our feet by a careless wind, something we cling on to as consolation for the empty lives we were probably born to live. Death is a constant reminder that we shouldn't hold on or cling on to anything so badly that we can't let go, because in the end, we will eventually let go. The day you die, people will cry. Women will tear their clothes and lift up their cabas. Men will grieve and drown themselves in liters of wine. Strangers will joam and scream in disbelief. There will be laments from coast to coast. But mind you, many years after, people will still be laughing and laughing from coast to coast. So before you die, live. Thank you.
Wow. So before you die, live. Thank you very much, Primeboy. Thank you very much, my amazing panelists, for making this very, very insightful. And I know the rest of Africa will pick it from here, and we will continue to inspire the rest of our world with our stories and the things we do in our respective countries. And once again, let's remember to collaborate, because with that, we can take on the world. Thank you very much, guys. My name is Ebenezer Donko, radio presenter in Ghana. I was here with Anesu. I was here with Naomi. Gideon was our sign language interpreter. Gideon, thank you very much. We had Juliet, we had Penboy, we had Uwaneza. Let me murder the name for the last time, Uwaneza, and everybody. Thank you very much, guys, for making this happen. God bless you, and hope to catch you some other time. To our listeners, to our viewers, thank you very much, and see you soon on the same page. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.